Experts testified before senators this week to talk about the challenges the state faces when it comes to housing. In addition to simply producing more units, Minnesota Housing says new housing projects need to address affordability. How do we do that? Senator Eric Lucero has several ideas and bills out already to address the issue. Senator, thank you for being here.
Thank you for the invitation to join you and discuss this very important topic.
Absolutely, yeah. We know this is a topic that touches everyone. And this is your third year now serving on this committee. What is it about it that's so important to you?
Well, my background is I'm a real estate agent, a licensed general contractor, and my wife and I obviously do real estate. She's also a real estate agent and a broker. So her and I team up and do a lot and are involved heavily with housing.
Now, Senator, what do you think is the greatest obstacle when it comes to homeownership here in Minnesota? And, what can people in the legislature do to help with that?
Well, the cost of home ownership and housing has risen dramatically in the last couple of years. It's been going up year over year for a while, but it has just exponentially risen. And when you look at whether you're a renter or whether a homeowner, the cost of maintenance, the cost of acquisition, the cost of building, all across the board continues to rise. And this is obviously in addition to costs in other areas of life that are rising and creating incredible pressure on housing stability.
All right, so we know over 500,000 Minnesota households are cost burdened. That means they're spending 30% or more of their income on housing. Why is that?
Well, whether you're a homeowner or whether a person is a renter, part of the aspects that go into the cost of renting or owning include the interest rate of any mortgage that might exist, the cost of insurance, and the cost of property taxes. So those costs are across the board are there. And even if you're a renter, the cost of insurance, the cost of property taxes, the cost of an interest rate charge are going to be passed along in the form of rent. And so as interest rates rise, as the cost of insurance rises, as property tax rise, all of that is being passed along, and it is putting higher rents and higher pressures on people to be able to afford their rent. It's putting higher pressures on people being able to afford their mortgages, and then it's putting pressures on people as they try to become homeowners, whether they come up with that down payment to get a loan or whether they come up with the money month over month for the mortgage payment.
So we know these costs are rising. What can we do about that to make housing more affordable here in Minnesota?
Well, it's a simple answer, but a more challenging solution. So the answer to that is supply, is the age-old law of supply and demand. As supply becomes less, if the demand becomes increases and supply becomes less, then the prices go up. And in this case, that's exactly what's been happening, is demand has risen dramatically, supply in whether it be new construction, and there's a myriad of reasons why people are not selling their houses, whether they are in a starter home and they're waiting to purchase a move-up home, or whether somebody's in their second home or third home and maybe they're empty nesters, and there's reasons why people are not downsizing and freeing up the ability for the next stage of people to move into the housing there. But the challenges here of the supply is the greatest thing that we need to tackle and what we're trying to do in our conversations in the legislature.
Now, is there a way we can do that without incurring great costs to the state? Because as you know, this is a budget year, but there is a big deficit on the horizon. So are there solutions to this housing problem in Minnesota that don't come with a price tag?
Well, when you look at property taxes, that is something that legislators can and should be taking a deeper dive at. Is there something that can be done to bring relief so that property taxes are not rising so dramatically? When it comes to insurance, where there's been a number of variables, whether they be hailstorms or other types of damage, that insurance companies then are bearing the cost, and that cost is being passed on, obviously, in monthly insurance rates. And so as a state, is there anything we can do to perhaps look at mandates or other types of reforms that allow for insurance companies to streamline, become more efficient, and therefore obviously reduce their risk and reduce the amount of cost that's passed on to homeowners or renters in the form of rent. And then when it comes to interest rates, Interest rates are something that's a much larger conversation and really can't be dealt with at a state level. But nevertheless, they are a huge factor in the cost of money. And so that would be for existing homes. Then you add in another variable, which would be new construction. Are there areas and opportunities at a state level that we can help to reduce the cost of new construction? One such example I have is a bill that I've introduced that would exempt the sales tax on building materials. Now, if let's just say in a scenario there's $100,000 of building materials that go into the construction of a new house, the sales tax, let's just say 7.5%, that's $7,500 just on that alone. If it's $200,000 going into a house, then we're looking at $15,000. That's a significant chunk of change. So if we could exempt the sales tax, for example, that would help reduce the cost of construction and help reduce the cost, obviously, of the final cost of that home.
Senator, you mentioned a lot of new construction that is needed, and we know a lot of these new construction homes come with homeowners associations. You've been hearing testimony from people across the state on homeowners associations. What have your big takeaways from those meetings been?
Yeah, so there's a work group that I have been the privilege of being a participant on, a member of, that's been meeting for approximately the last 6 months. And it's a bipartisan group. It's had stakeholders representing various interests that have a relationship, obviously, with CICs, which is Common Interest Community, and HOAs, Homeowners Associations, and looking at what are the ways this current system is broken. What are the ways that it can and needs to be reformed to bring transparency, to bring accountability? And these voices that we've heard in forms of testimony, public testimony, experts in different areas, have all contributed to the absolute need to bring reforms. And so this work group has recently published their recommendations, and myself and a bipartisan group of legislators are going to be taking those recommendations, creating one or several bills that we look to advance bipartisanly in the legislature this session to, again, bring that transparency, accountability, streamline, and make things reducing costs for homeowners.
So you've mentioned the bill about HOA reform. You mentioned one about construction. What other bills do you have floating out there on this housing topic?
Well, I'm open to many different areas. Perhaps I don't even have bills that I've authored or co-authored, but among them would be, I'm open to conversation on anything that impacts the cost of current homeownership, current rent, or new construction, any topic. One such topic could be the cost of permits. And I'm definitely interested in taking a look at that to see, are there areas that we could reduce the cost of the permits that go into new construction. Anything that contributes to the cost, whether it be the materials, whether it be the permits, whether it be the labor that goes into it, all of those costs, they contribute to the final price that a house is sold at. And so if we can reduce any one of those individual components that lead to the total cost, that's going to reduce the overall cost, obviously. But again, it's also going to hopefully spur or be a catalyst to more supply through new construction.
Yeah, everything helps. Senator, any final thoughts that you'd like to share on this topic?
Well, I am very excited on this topic because home ownership impacts everybody, whether you're a renter or an owner, whether you're young or older, more seasoned, whether you're Republican, Democrat, Independent, or something else. And all of us are looking for stability and to reduce the costs so we can enjoy the American dream of homeownership, so we can start building generational wealth. And that is something that I'm super excited about and think has a lot of momentum here this year.
Senator, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for the opportunity.